That's one right there. I think I might have bumped one of them out of focus, but...
Ooh, we look good as well.
Yeah,
like the
cool.
colors, yeah.
4, cool. And then 1 maybe.
Can we put your water over there, do you think?
Absolutely.
I was like,
Let's do that. Is that right here?
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Totally.
I'm going to drink that on air. They're going to love that. Do you go to AA? You do, yeah. Do you go with them?
No, that's why that was so crazy.
Yeah.
Like, he's many years in the program, and
Yeah.
I had no idea. He goes to the meetings that I just happened to not go to.
Yeah.
I was like,
No, he's a
damn.
great speaker.
Yeah, he was great to have on.
Yeah.
He's very like kind and giving and very open about his journey. And I thought, I was like, I have Sebastian Siegel after. He's like, I love him. I'm like,
my boy.
what?
Yeah,
Just stick
cool.
around.
Synchronicity, yeah.
Yeah. No, I'm excited. I feel like it's giving this podcast a really nice heart to just have those different kinds of people, Oh, we're on. Excellent.
Good to go.
Amazing. Well, welcome back, Sebastian Siegel.
Good to be here.
I wanted to have you back because first of all, you were my highest, most downloaded episode, and they're still downloading it, which is great. I'm brand new as a podcast, and so it's you look at the numbers just religiously every day and see what's working or what isn't. I'm like, how is this guy still downloading? And it's great. And I was just telling you have a very polarizing effect on one hand. On one hand, people are like, this is great. I love this. I'm learning. The other one is like, I'm not analyzing somebody this much. I just won't do it. Well, I mean, you might wanna for better results overall. But so I was like, would you come back on? And you're obviously just like, yes, because you're so wonderful and supportive. I appreciate you.
Yeah.
So the way I thought I would do this is that I'll ask a question, make a statement, and then I'll just have you respond. And but I want to talk about your TEDx talk. Tell me about the invisible force and the invisible force driving our lives and the 5 stages of love that you have been working on for a while now. How did your last one go? I wanted to come. I couldn't make it. I'm so sorry. So you tell me.
I think TED is a great platform for, it's really made to be watched at home.
Yeah.
It's really made for the audience.
Yeah.
We had a great audience there. And it just came out. It's just streaming now, right? Which is TEDx Pacific. Mm-hmm. My name, and then the invisible force that drives our life.
Yep.
And that one's 8 minutes. Because I think when TED started so many years ago, 18 was kind of the most you could
much
do.
longer, yeah.
But that was also the sweet spot. Whereas now attention spans have gotten shorter. You can still do 18.
Yeah.
But the sweet spot is kind of 8 to 10. So, I wanted to try to truncate. The challenge for me and the joy for me also was to try to truncate something that usually, when I'm doing a talk or something, I'm trying to arrive at some sort of gestalt, some sort of aha moment. And so there's a poetic quality to it, like Alan Watts or Krishnamurti or something, or Osho, where you're getting somewhere and then all of a sudden it's like bang, and the water comes through, right?
Yeah.
So it takes time, 20 minutes or an hour or 2 hours sometimes when I speak. So with the TEDx talk, I wanted to try to do something in 8 minutes, and so that was a fun challenge right, for me to also do something robust and provocative, which I think it is, which people I think are responsive in that way to it. But ultimately, it's on the most kind of Jungian sense, right? You think in terms of the invisible forces that drive our lives, like you think whoever is watching this now, right, or you or me, like how did you get here? In the relationships that you're in, right? With a lover, with your friends, right? Doing this, right? How did you arrive at, vocations, hobbies, places, things you love to do, right? And we think on one level, like pragmatically, like, well, I like these things or these people. But on a deeper level, there's some sort of invisible force that is driving us towards these things, right? You know, whether it's you want to look at our subconscious or unconscious mind, you know, there's something occurring, and then also on another level, archetypally, you know, and Jung talks about these archetypes, which I've discussed on a number of different things right online. And then also Joseph Campbell, who I met when I was a boy at a moonrise in Hawaii, talks a lot about these archetypes, you know. And I like to look at it as opposed to those being factors of psychology that are inside of us, more that we are derivative of those forces. Like even if I was never born and you were never born and Jung was never born and Joseph Campbell and the last 10,000 years of people were never around, these forces still exist, right? And they're playing across the night sky through the stars and through our relationships, right? And so sometimes we feel those draws really intensely, like with our lover, right? There's polarity and you feel like good and lit up, right? And so many people feel these things. And you look at all our poetry and our music and our, you know. And so to know these things, to become aware of these things, what am I dreaming of? What does it mean? What's happening in my life? But why is it that, in other words, that I'm seeking to be in this vocation, right? Or why is it that I find myself wanting to spend time with this person? Right? What is it that's invisible? You know, if I can answer that, then it makes other things so much more clear, right? In other words, and where I go with that in sort of some sort of takeaway, if you will, is to say not that we give ourselves to what we want. Like when Joseph Campbell says, follow your bliss, which everybody loves, right? He doesn't mean do what you want. He doesn't mean do what you like. He means do what is calling you. And so the statement that I'm extrapolating from that really is give your entire being to the individuals, to the relationships and the experiences that are inviting you to become more. Right. That's really, you know, that's really the response, I think, to God or to spirit or to the world. You invite me to come here, and I say, all right, that's inviting me to become more, to connect with you and have this conversation, you know, or to do this TED Talk or to write a book or something. And so it's not always easy to decide that. But then you connect with someone and they say, hey, come on this thing. And you think, I don't know, that sounds kind of uncomfortable, like climbing Everest or it can just be like staying in a room somewhere, you know, that's, who knows, right? You know, doesn't sound so fun. Instead, I'll just do this thing that I'm really comfortable with. What's the choice, right? And so the choice is really like the world, right? God, spirit, this experience, this dance across the night sky wants to come through us. It's going to happen anyways. So we might as well surrender to that. That's the invisible force, right?
How do you know? How do you know to identify? I mean, you can be pulled at a lot of different things, couldn't you? Like you could be pulled towards also things that are not good for you, right? Or no? Yeah. So how would you identify that? Like, how would you?
And it's a great. I like the way you stated that question, because the things that are inviting us to become more aren't always good for us on some level, right? And we don't get to know something fully without its breaking or ending. You know, in other words, like some of the greatest poets, right? Whether it's Khalil Gibran or Rumi, you know, or Rainer Maria Rilke, is like just relentless heartache. Just relentless. And yet some of the most beautiful, tender poetry
comes from it.
Spectacular, right? This man, like, you know, and and Adida writes about that. Like, we don't know love. You don't know love until love's crucified you, right? You know, and so to know something in fullness, right, is to experience its ending also, right? So I think, though, in terms of how do you know, intuitively, like feeling your way in, right? And it's not pragmatic, but you feel like, okay, yes, this is, you know, and so, you know, I want to participate. Now, I particularly like the way you stated the question, because we have this sense sometimes like, I'm going to get rewarded if I do this, and this is the wrong decision. In other words, what am I doing with my day? Well, what's the better one? And then we get, oh no, I don't know what to do. We get like stunned.
Indecisive about,
But we're going to get rewarded either way for both of them. It's really like whatever the decisions are. There's no wrong. The most important thing is to continue to go forth. So you continue to go forth, the clues start to show up, right? And so the intuition isn't in one moment. It's not so much pressure. It's more like we show up again, and then you start showing up and really taking inventory. Saying, you know what? This relationship is fun, convenient, but
Sure.
this is not fulfilling.
Sure.
I'm not going to respond to this anymore. And then you meet someone else and they're inviting you to see, wow, this is challenging. I got to be at my best.
Yeah.
But I'm becoming more. I'm learning something about myself, about others, because the way I have to show up. Maybe, you go to the place and you've got to dress well and look your best and feel your best and be articulate and really be present and listening. Whereas maybe you spend time with someone else and you don't. Your words slur and everybody's cussing and whatever. It's not bad, right? Not wrong or right.
Yeah.
But you just think, well, what is it that's inviting me to become more? Because life's so short.
Are we kind of back in the vein of like where we need to not be afraid of the answer to the question that maybe this person that you've fixated on or idolized or hope you've done so much for this whole situation to work. I've done so much. And you're like, maybe if I don't ask the question, the answer will be different, meaning this is not the person that's fulfilling you, or this is not the job that's fulfilling you, or, in any context, because you remember we talked about that last time. We talked about a lot of things. We covered a lot of things in the last time, which was great. But sounds like it's a little bit in the vein of that. You have to be brave enough for the answer of whatever the question is here in the context of like, is this fulfilling for you? Is this right for you? And that's maybe how you know if the pull that you're feeling is actually going to be rewarding to you, to both of you, to your job, whatever it is the pull is in regards to.
And I think that kind of fearless questioning in relationship, particularly in love relationship, is really valuable. Like saying, is this
really
still
is.
fulfilling for you?
Yeah.
Because chemically it might be different after 6 months or a year or 5 years or 20 years or whatever the thing is. But is this still fulfilling for you? What can I do? Is there anything I can do to make this more fulfilling for you?
How do we get better together?
The response to that is really like always the same thing. It's listen more deeply. Show up more gracefully. And you think about, the relationship between a couple, it's like, okay, keeping that grace. Like you see couples that have been together for a long time, right? Go through enormous challenges together. There's always a please, thank you, the surprise with little things. James Whitmore, who played in Shawshank Redemption, right? Was so wonderful, brilliant actor. Brooks was here. He's the guy who hangs himself, right? Shawshank Redemption, right? And he was like a mentor for me. Became a very good friend right at the end of his life. And he was the first person in my first documentary film.
Okay.
We became very close. And, he was a real romantic. Yeah, and he would wake up every morning and like make a papaya, for his wife, and like he was write love letters,
gestures.
Yeah, and in his 80s, and having a rich sex life, right up, right to the end, But it was all of that. They're not separate, right? Those are predicated, that arousal and that chemistry is predicated on the subtle grace, like good morning, you're so beautiful, to feel that and see that, like that's the only way that I endure being alive, that I want people to feel seen. Yeah, and I want to look at the beautiful things around. As a beautiful flower. Wow, you are a beautiful girl. Like this is great to look in your eyes.
Yeah.
And I want to feel that obviously in relationship.
Yeah.
And the more we express that, the more we start to see it. Right? Like the more you smell the roses.
And if you ask the questions, you might actually authentically find that.
Absolutely. The more we smell something, especially in California, like the roses are amazing. Yeah. And then the more you do it, the more you want to do it, and the more all of a sudden it opens this pattern up, right?
Yeah. So I want to talk to you. I feel like you're just so perfect for these questions that I want to ask here, partly because of people's response to your the first time you were on here, and just how challenging.
Yeah,
well, you are, but you know what? You want to be that. You don't want to be boring. You know what I mean? At least it's like it's eliciting some kind of reaction in people, and there's a reason they feel that way. And I think because, even with me, by the way, I said being in love, being infatuated or being obsessed with someone is a mental illness, and I stand by that. And they were like, that's fucked up. I was like, okay, but are you fixated on one person? Are you of service to anyone? No, because you're so fixated on one person. So I stand by that. I still feel that way. But it's just to say we both took a little bit of...
I'll take it.
We took shots. It's okay.
I'll speak to that for a second, right?
Yeah, sure.
I think this is a dangerous time.
Yeah.
Because it's a time of transience,
yeah.
right? With people looking at relationships in terms of metrics, right? Versus in terms of depth, you know? Like, I think with people dating online, it's just like, oh, this. And it's all romantic love. It's just who's this ideal of this person, and it's got nothing to do with the actual other being is one thing. And I think that there's a danger also in pop psychology that there's a lot of people online that are saying stuff that's sort of lowest common denominator and that's not really vetted and that is prescriptive, right? And so I think that there's a lot of AI. Like AI is essentially like the grandest homogenization of everything that's current and abundant, which means broad and pop, right? It's not actually if somebody's coming and they're devastated and they're in love and they're heartbroken and they go on AI like, how do I get over this? It's like, okay, date someone else, do something that makes you feel good, whatever. And it's all prescriptive, but it actually doesn't address those invisible energies. Yeah, and so for me, I like to speak very much against that prescriptive takeaway.
Right.
Yeah, and I like to say, no, there's something deeper, that if you're willing to go in deeper, the reward is phenomenal. And it's not just going to help in this relationship at this moment, but it'll help in all relationships for all the moments thereafter. In other words, if you can look at something deep inside between, let's say, a husband and your wife, you're going to find this amazing thing open up also with your daughter. And with your sister and with your mother and all your friends who are female. You know, and so that's what I'm after. And
totally. That's probably what rubbed people.
Absolutely.
It just hit. Yeah, absolutely. Because, I mean, they're probably aware in that pool and that whole, things we don't say. So maybe if we don't say it, it's not true thing that we do sometimes. It probably hit that nerve that there's certain work that needs to be done. They're like, okay, blah, 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 whatever, and then, but, it's in order to have a better overall human experience with somebody else.
And I don't think there's a wrong right. I just think that,
Isn't there?
I don't think there's a wrong, no, there's no wrong right, but it's more of, at some point, hopefully, for most individuals, there's a recognition of mortality. Sometimes it happens in the 20s, sometimes in the 40s, sometimes never. Right? For me, it happened very early on. It's, as a sort of teen or something, or before that, where it's like, wow, life is fleeting. It's gone. So I really want to go deep. Yeah, and I know that when people spend time with me, I've been very fortunate to be able to draw some of the most outstanding people in the world to me, to work with, to collaborate with, to study with, to create with, to collaborate with. That I know people feel like they've got to be at their best around me and with me, right? Because I want to be at my best, and I'm looking to go deep, right? Yeah. It's just like after you are there, it's hard.
Why
to
would
be,
you want to?
It's just hard to and that's not to be confused with humor and lightness. That's fantastic, but the underlying connection has a resonance.
I agree.
Right, that says that this is mystical.
I've selected some questions here based on interactions I've had with people or observations I've made that I think also in response to, after the response from the last episode we did, that I'm just going to throw at you because I think, when I was talking about our interview, I led to some conversations with people about their personal lives and whatever, you get into deeper conversations with people based on their feedback and whatever. So, I'm going to just hit you with statements and questions. Okay. And then I'm going to give them more of that polarizing answers that you guys just okay. How as a woman in love to handle an Oedipal mother?
Say that again.
How as a woman in love to handle an Oedipal mother?
How is a woman who
as a woman in love, meaning a woman who is in a relationship with a man, handle the Oedipal mother.
Meaning specifically though, meaning handle.
I'm going to read it to you. Yeah, so please. An Oedipal mother is not simply a mother who is close to her son. This dynamic is more Complex, often unconscious and psychologically enmeshed, she positions her son as the emotional center of her world, consciously or not treating him as a surrogate partner, companion, or even a savior. Her love may appear deep and unconditional, but it's often fused with control, projection, and possessiveness. When a mother only lives for her son, the dynamic begins to resemble a romantic or even spousal attachment, without overt sexual boundaries being crossed. She may idolize him, confide in him emotionally as if he were her equal, or protect her and make him responsible directly or indirectly for her happiness. This over-identification creates what family systems theorists call emotional fusion or enmeshment. The son is not given psychological space to differentiate. He is subtly or overtly discouraged from forming his own identity, desires, or relational autonomy. The son is simultaneously praised for being the center of the mom's world and punished through guilt, withdrawal, or passive aggression when he attempts to individuate. She isolates her son, though not always physically. She may discourage friendship, subtly discredit other women, or create an emotional atmosphere where no one else could possibly understand or care for him the way that she could. So I had a lot of conversations with women that were in these situations that were dealing with this mother. So how would you recommend somebody deals with being in this kind of dynamic?
Yeah, I mean, first of all, every individual is different, and there's a spectrum and range of every, of every kind of degree of effect that's taking, influence on the psyche.
Yeah.
But in this particular circumstance, who has the complex, right? The mother has the complex. So that's the mother's responsibility. And as the woman, you're involved with the man, first and foremost, not the mother. And so that's two parties away right there, right? Now, if you have kids with this man, that's the grandmother of your children. So there is something important there, right? For sure. But I think, obviously the first thing is the husband aware of that, right? Because the first relationship
I think they
there
always
with the
are.
husband. Every human is different, and that's why I don't like to be too prescriptive, right?
Yeah.
But every relationship is different. But if it comes down to, the engagement with the mother, right, between the woman and the mother, that's what it sounds like. It sounds like a rom-com where there's going to be like holiday parties and they're going to be hanging out.
Yeah. Okay. Let me ask my mom.
So
You're
I think
40, bro.
oftentimes if there is a neuroses, right, when the desire is met, then it's alleviated, right? In other words, like a child's going bananas for something, and you say, well, here, no problem, you can have this.
Yeah.
And then they're not even interested in that anymore. In other words, the obsession is invisible.
Right.
And it is abstract. So I think if the woman is grounded and confident in a certain way to say to the mother, just feed her all that, right? Like find out what she thinks that she's done that's amazing for the son, right? For her husband or boyfriend or lover or whatever. Jack or whoever is
we can call him Jack. Sure.
How amazing, you are. And I see this when I'm at home at his place.
Praise.
But not as a sycophant and not just, genuinely. Like, this is really amazing.
Yeah.
Like, and even if it's something that's challenging, like you were away a lot, it can be something rigorous. You were absent a lot, perhaps, but he's so independent and he's always so grateful for you. For that.
See. Try to highlight her.
Meeting, not in a way to appease out of adoration, but in a way to see eye to eye, to say, in this case, the opportunity is I'm a woman and you're a woman and we both love the same man. I love him as my husband or lover, and you love him as your son. And we are on the same page about something, and that is we want this man to really live this abundant, healthy, incredible life. And so I'm going to find a way to adore you because you are his mother, but also you are part of the great female archetype, as am I, and we have that in common. And so how do we collaborate around that? Because then
that's a good answer.
All of a sudden, instead of like this, you're together moving forward,
Is there an element, I don't want to spend too much time on each one because I have more questions for you, but is there an element you think with the mothers where they're feeling, well, they're feeling like excluded from something they really shouldn't be included in anyway. Like a union between a husband and a wife. Like you have no business being there, mom. But you know what I mean? Do you know what I mean? Like, what do you want? What else do you want? But I think in the way that you, based on your response, you're suggesting that responding to the mother's fear of being excluded out of this dynamic somehow. So, I mean, to a degree, it kind of is like, coddling a little bit, where you're like, it's okay, we're in this together. Don't worry, I'm not taking him from you. So it's like you have to kind of respond to that fear a little bit.
But I think it's got to come. I mean, I think the more important thing is that there is something coming from inside, you know, and to feel that through.
Yeah, just pull it out. To
really feel that through. Say, like, I mean, there is something outstanding in everybody.
Well, yeah, I mean, you probably wouldn't love this man if she hadn't done something, right?
Something.
Do you know what I mean? So maybe look for that. Yeah, find that.
And say, you know, this particular thing is so outstanding.
Yeah. He always opens the door for me, or he always, you know, you taught him all of those things. You're amazing.
Like, I have so much to learn from you.
Yeah.
Kind of thing.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
That at least. But, you know, the preface is, though, in this circumstance, right, the playbook here.
Yeah.
Is that's the mother's complex.
I know.
And so the more important relationship there is with the man. To say in bed or talking or whatever one of those conversations are, to say, like, your mother's amazing. Yeah. Right? You know, and do you ever think, and pose it into question, that she's afraid of losing you, you know, to a romantic relationship, to a love relationship, you know? Like, at least just you have that, there's nowhere to go with it, but just to open that up so that it's in the psyche, it's in the ether, it's being discussed in the relationship.
That's Sebastian's answer. I would say if it's to the point where he's not stopping it, I think abort mission. I just, you know, I can't, you know, but here's the thing. It's perfect because we have so different views on, I think love, the way it's perceived today is I think people are unwell. If someone says I'm in love, I hear I'm compromised. That's what I hear. So it's like I learn a lot from our interaction because we come from different ends of it too. And then there's definitely moments where I'm like, oh.
But on that, what's the finality, right? I mean, the similarities in relationship is what draws us together initially. Mm-hmm. But the differences is where all the magic is. That's where all the growth is.
Oh, no, that's what I mean.
Right? And so
that's what I mean.
But what I'm saying pertinent to this is there's going to be enormous challenges. So if the challenge is that the mother's Oedipal.
Yeah. If you want to take that on, girl.
But
you have yourself a good, I think
would you rather that than the man is lying to you?
Well, I mean, I don't think he would. I think it's very problematic if no, I do think men lie.
That's not a gender question.
No, I just mean
if your lover is lying to you.
If your lover is lying, right.
That's a real problem.
100%. But you asked specifically now about if this is the biggest problem. I think it's a huge problem. I think it's a problem that the man hasn't stopped it to this, whatever. Let's say he's 25 up. It's already like major alarms for me at that point because your mother is acting like your wife, right? Essentially, you're calling her, 10, 20, 30 times a day. That's what the fuck do you talk about? What do you talk about 20, 30 times a day? Hi, mommy, how are you? Good, my child, how are you? Blah, blah, blah. You coming home for this? That's it. What else do you need to know? And especially when a woman is trying to, you know what I mean? Like, especially when a woman, right? Someone you're going to spend your entire, it's a rant, it's fine. You're going to spend your whole life with, right? Is trying to show you and showcase her homemaking skills and be like, I can be your girl. Look at what I can do, right? That's what we do. When we date, that's what you're doing. However you're doing it, you're auditioning for each other. You're like, look how fabulous I would be as your life partner. And you're interrupting the demo to call your mom again? What the fuck for? No, if you want to take it on, go ahead. I'm not abort mission, girl. Leave. No, do what you want. This is why I want to ask him these things because I've had these conversations with people that respond to the podcast, and I was like, I know you're gonna give a longer, fuller answer, and And you know, I'm just like, no. Okay. Next statement. Don't sleep with anyone you can't imagine. Oh, that's a lie. That was not the one I want. Okay. How do you break out of a life lie? So a life lie, I'll explain it first. The distortion of perspective and how it's failing you. Just because you say it's true doesn't mean it's true. Let's get that out of the way. People living a life lie are those that deliberately manipulate their perception of reality reshaping it, editing it, trimming it down until only a narrow, pre-approved version of events is allowed to exist. It's a curated fiction, a stage play, one where the truth is the villain and the denial gets top billing. If it's the path you want to walk, of course, I won't stop you. I'm not here to legislate your emotional ecosystem, but I would offer a gentle but unflinching nod. It's not the best idea. There's no richness in deception, no real structure in illusion. And while you might say, I'm fine with that, I don't need depth. You prefer a surface level, highly controlled existence, then so be it. But you must also accept the costs, because what you're really saying is that you've decided that you already know what you already know is sufficient to carry you through the rest of your life. That the reality you're avoiding must be so threatening, so unbearable that you'd rather distort your own consciousness than face it. And the distortion of that, it makes your spirit angry, restless, in my opinion, uneasy. You're not just dodging reality, you're dodging every opportunity and possibility that reality contains. Doors and windows you can't even see, let alone open, because they don't exist in the architecture of your life lie. So when you live like this, you suppress parts of yourself, consciously or not. And by doing so, you suppress who you could have been. That you've, had you been bold enough to break out of this illusion. So the question, that's the definition of the life lie. And it's just, I'm like obsessed with Jordan Peterson. So it's comes from them, and David Waters, like that wrote a book about discipline and how to get yourself into that space of reality. It's a lot in the veins of what you also talk about. So the question would be, how do you break, say someone's like, all right, this kind of sounds like what I'm doing a little bit, but how do you break out of it? Because it's a very carefully curated reality, false reality, but that's keeping you in kind of a safe.
You're involved with the person who is living like that?
No, it doesn't have to be that you're involved. Let's say you are the person that's living like that, and
well, then you don't know it.
Well, if you start to identify it, though, I did. I did know it. I lived a life for sure. That's why now that I don't live it, the last 10 years of my life, well, 12, I would have to say now. I've been sober 2 years, but to me, you know what I mean? But now I can't even identify, and it's a good thing. It means that it's the layers came out. But in I do even, and we'll forget. As time passes, the brain's very practical. It's just going to get rid of things, isn't it? But it's like, I still remember those little, because I'm so early in sobriety, I still remember those thoughts, those justifications, the rationalization behind every fucked up thing I was doing, the lashing out at people, not calling back, saying I will, then I don't. Actively just like, everything's fine, everything is great. Active life lie. Nothing was great. Everything sucked. I was horrible to people. A rewiring I still have to do today, because I'm still so selfish sometimes that in that moment, I'm like, if you're irritating me not being irritated is more important than everything. Do you know what I mean? In that moment. And it used to make sense before, because it was cool. There's a society, there's like this conversation happening in society where women mistake being bitchy as abrupt and maintaining boundaries. It's not cute. It's actually disgusting, and it's rude, and it's unpleasant, and it's cruel. People have a hard time in life, and you walking around going, well, I'm going to talk like this just because I'm a girl, and whatever. No, it's disgusting. So life light, to me, that really resonated with me, because I don't know how I broke out of it. I was just I was so sick of being stupid. I was getting stupid because I was drinking all the time. I didn't know how to talk to anybody. And my ego was that of like, oh, I'm so clever. I'm so smart. I play the piano. I skate. Look how versatile and like creative I am. I wasn't any of those things anymore. So the lifeline, like the illusion fell apart, but by chance, really by chance. Because I was wearing myself out. My brain was getting tired because I was attacking it with toxins all the time. So I am curious for myself and for people that I see in life lies. You can tell them, your life isn't what you think it is. I promise you it's not. You're not even close to fulfilling your potential. But I'm not going to say, I wouldn't say that, because if they don't ask, you're not going to say anything. But you want to so badly be like, if you would just stop that.
Okay.
Does that make sense more?
No, it makes a ton of sense. First of all, that was really humble and courageous, the way you stated that. Yeah,
Thank you.
It's powerful. Yeah, I mean, being able to take inventory, and even psychology is the study of the soul, which is invisible, being able to close our eyes and look within and say, what's going on here? Something is amiss. And I want to address that thing that is amiss. Where's that coming from? Because it's not coming from out here. It's coming from in here.
Yeah.
And I'm participating out here in a way that's urging that, right? Yeah, for sure. You don't tell anyone unless you're, unless there's high stakes, because they're just going to kill the messenger. Right?
100%.
Like what you said at the top there.
Yes.
You said the truth is the villain, was your words. But I think that, the most guaranteed route for change, for growth in any, mode of, life is immersion, right? And so I think that, what you said about AA, the most fundamental power in AA is first taking inventory, then having the will to change, and then immersion. And the immersion comes from, look, I just show up at these meetings. Because in the immersion, you hear other stories of other people who have had things that are comparable, not as bad, much worse, right? Yeah. And it's just the consistency. Yeah, and I think that the changing something that is a paradigm, a facade, let's say in this case, right, about life, the fastest way to bust that is immersion into something else, right? Consistency, whatever that program is, it can be, some sort of prayer or spiritual religious practice, plus like the way you addressed it with AA is very, very effective. Yeah. And really saying, look, having a friend, I'm going to call you every other day at this time, or, this is like really jumping into saying, I want to take inventory. Where can I improve here? Where can I increase, my responsibility? Yeah, and taking on responsibility is tremendous, and that continuity can also be saying, okay, I'm going to learn something new and give myself to something that demands.
Yeah, I don't know everything. I'm going to learn something new. Be humble enough to say that. Yeah. It's a broad question, I know, but I think I like what you said about it. It's starting with inventory is probably I wouldn't have known to break out of a life late unless I was at the place where I just absolutely hated how I operated.
The signifiers, right, are generally, there's a certain level of anxiety.
Oh, yeah.
Right? And I think that's one of the reasons I lean against pop culture, right? Not pop culture in general, but pop prescriptive psychologies that people are like, oh, well, like, listen to your body, the body knows. Like, no, a lot of times the body does not know. If you're going to stay up all night and do cocaine, your body says, I'm having a great time. Or you're going to go sit home today and, like, eat Doritos on the couch. Your body says, this is great. But if you do that every day for 6 months, like, it's not going to go well. Yeah. Right? So the body doesn't always know. Yeah. And but listening deeply to inside, what's going on deep inside does know. And when there is anxiety, the mission is not to get rid of that anxiety. Right? The mission is find out why that anxiety is existing, especially if it's existing regularly. And if it's existing because I am saying something about my reality that is not accurate with the way that I'm conducting my life, then there's a real issue. So I need to either conduct my life differently, right? Or stop with this fantasy.
Change,
yeah. Stop with this dream. Absolutely.
Yeah, it is. It's a hard thing to break out of for sure because we do it. We do. It's hard. I guess it goes back to not being afraid of the answer for the questions you don't want to ask.
I just blow my nose quickly.
Yeah, of course.
Do you have a paper towel here or anything like that? Paper towel or Kleenex?
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Let's look at the answer. So the next one. Wait, I won't prep you. You don't want to be prepared. No, I know.
Yeah, Jordan he is wonderful. He just got really sick recently. He had to cancel his whole book tour or something, I think.
He moved it to 2026, right?
I guess, yeah. Just this week he got ill.
This week?
Yeah, this last week. Thank you very much.
No.
Yeah.
I went to see him 3 times in his
really?
last one. I'm obsessed. I VIP every time. I literally was like, I love you.
When he was in LA last time or Nevada?
LA. And then I went to the one in where was I? Washington? DC?
That's amazing.
Yeah, like
That's wonderful.
I'm intellectual platonic Jordan Peterson groupie.
He's wonderful. Yeah, he's really incredibly...
Non-creepy. Please don't sue me.
He's an incredibly powerful speaker.
I mean, that was so helpful. Actually, a huge part of what, in my rewiring process, I was just like, just talk. I'll just listen. Just talk.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's dovetailing off of that question, right? That's a one important focus of immersion. Yeah. Like, I'm going to read this book, and I'm going to read a little bit every night before bed. Yeah. Right?
Yep.
And like, I find that helps. Right now I'm reading James Hollis, and I've read most of his books, and he's brilliant, right? And he's, the foremost Jungian therapist. If people are interested in that, I did a great interview with him in my series on YouTube called The 8 Questions, spelled out EIGHT, The 8 Questions, James Hollis, and it's one of the greatest interviews with him,
Nice.
But if I read a little bit, let's say right now I'm reading him, a little bit in the morning, but definitely as I'm falling asleep, right before I fall asleep, hard copy, no screen. Yeah. And that's like a form of immersion, because right before bed is really important. Yeah.
And what you do before you go to bed and when you wake up as well.
Big time. Yeah. And, falling asleep, feeding the subconscious with this new, especially if, pertinent to what you're saying on this, stepping off of that question is, how am I make a big change? Yeah. Well, at least while we're asleep, let's work on it while we're sleeping. So whatever we're touching before bed, that's important in terms of wanting to make a change, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Okay, I'm going to do my next one, which is honest vows for those entering monogamy. People are going to hate me for that one. Okay. In my opinion, a more honest exchange of vows between two people entering monogamy should sound less like a fairy tale and more like an oath to uphold the structure they've chosen, even if love, as it often does, changes form. If the shared intention is to raise a family or build a long-term container, then monogamy should not be promised blindly in the name of romantic euphoria. Instead, it should be a commitment to loyalty and emotional discipline, not because passion will always endure, but because neither party wishes to invite chaos into the family unit through unnecessary external entanglements. The truth is, monogamy as a practice is best suited to those that are not especially social, who aren't particularly preoccupied with novelty or sex, or who have a natural inclination towards conservatism. Why? Because these personalities are less likely to seek or enjoy casual closeness with others, making them more organically compatible with the demands of exclusivity. Loyalty and respect in partnerships looks like this: being each other's advocates, even when the romance shifts, remembering what lights your partner's eyes, knowing what nourishes their soul, what keeps them functional, dignified, and alive. Partnerships means holding space for your beloved's full humanity, not just performing your role in some societal pantomime about what relationships should look like. You know the one, the eternal performance, the high-stakes charade that leaves us depleted and quietly resentful, all in the name of appearance. Let's be clear, nobody should enter monogamy by default. It's a demanding discipline, not a romantic aesthetic. It requires training, introspection, self-regulation. Declaring yourself suddenly monogamous because you found someone new and exciting isn't a declaration of growth. It's an act of self-abandonment disguised as virtue. It assumes you've been healed by proximity of somebody else rather than having done the interior work required for true self-restraint. When people say things like, "She made an honest man out of me," I kind of cringe. No one can make you honest. If you weren't honest before, then what you've entered isn't intimacy, it's performance under duress. Why not pursue the truth together? Why not create a space where radical honesty is the foundation? Isn't the truth the best possible armor against the dangers of the world? So the statement is, monogamy as a practice is best suited to those who are not especially social, who aren't particularly preoccupied with novelty or sex, and who have a natural inclination towards conservatism. What are your thoughts? I can't even talk. I got so tongue-tied to the whole thing. I was like, blah, blah, blah.
I think the deeper question is, what is the purpose of relationship? Right? I mean, what do we, if you're falling in love with someone and you're where it's happening, what is it that, you're doing? Is it that you're excited and you're just jumping in? Mm-hmm. Is it that you want to allow that individual to become more and see themselves and get to know themselves through you, and you also want to get to know that other and get to know yourself through that other, right? Because that's pretty good.
Yeah.
And if I'm going to do that, get to know myself through the other, and the other is going to get to know him or herself through me, that means I got to be vulnerable.
Yep.
Right? Because I got to discover new things. And that means I got to be courageous. It's pretty good too, right? It's already demanding a lot there. So we got to have a roadmap, right? And we can change it. But we got to go all in on that roadmap. You know, you don't say, well, I think maybe we'll swim a few miles today. You know, you got to get in the water and say, look, this is 3 miles to the other shore here. We're going to go swim this, and we're not taking life vests. It's hell or high water. Then when you get out there, maybe something happens, and you have to make a change to something. But you've got to go all in. And where I'm going with that is to say, I tend towards monogamy. I like monogamy, but I like depth in relationship. And I wrote this piece on the Huffington Post, I don't know, a million years ago, called "Truthfulness is the Last Taboo." Right? In other words, you look at the long-term relationships of people who swing, and it doesn't work out well. Some people maybe it does, but for the most part, it just doesn't work out well, right? In other words, like, what is it? Like cockroaches, rats, animals, like they're all screwing, right? So that's pretty fundamental. Yeah. You know, and yet there is a depth relationship that is so profound and spectacular. Yeah. That is waiting, you know, to be opened up if someone's willing to, right? You know, want to do something extraordinary in the world, right? And now there's so much research on all these things. How many hours does it take, whether it's 10,000 hours to become skilled as a pianist or a dancer or whatever, right? Well, it's the same thing in self-knowledge. It's the same thing in being in love and giving yourself and to another while that individual is giving him or herself to you. There's a depth relationship that's far more exciting, but it's got to be kept. You know, it's very, very subtle, right? I mean, there's a mystical magic to that, a profundity, you know, that down the line we say, look, what's happening here? Do we want to make a change here? But I do, like, I am not, you know, I like to, I think that there are also, you know, furthermore, there are also a lot of extraordinary people, right? Men and women who are disabled that cannot have sex, that have spectacular relationships. And so now what, I've got to like go out and screw 100 people to be satisfied? So there's not a moral issue. There's nothing wrong with that, right? But what does it say about me? Like, for me, what does it say to me about me? Like, I must not be unwrapping this gift with that much grace and amazement.
The gift being the relationship?
The sex, the relationship, my sense of awe in the world, right? Like, I mean, you know, there's a little more than 4 billion women in the world and maybe about 4 billion men in the world. And like when the lights go off, like it's all the same machinery for the most part. So where's the magic, right? Like the biome is important. Yeah. The smell, the desire and the sound and all those things, right? But for the most part, right? So it's like the creativity and the connection, you know, is where the deeper action is really at. Right, that's really where the deep gift is, you know.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree with all of that. I think my question would be, is that tied to?
Don't be monogamous out of pressure. Of course not. Don't jump into a relationship as you're saying and say, "Oh, I'm going to be monogamous." But I don't sleep with someone unless I feel like, you know, I'm very interested. I'm very curious. This is potentially outstanding. You know, I give myself fully, and I bring people into my life very slowly.
So that's very intentional.
I've been very lucky that I've had a lot of opportunities since I was a boy. I'm extremely fortunate. Yeah. And so because of that, I don't take it lightly. You know, but I also look at people who don't succeed on a lot of levels, you know, whether it's just, and not just in work and vocation, but who tend to cause a lot of problems in their own lives, in their own relationships, or fall behind in whatever the vocation is, or then succeed enormously and throw a lot of things away. And you know, transience gives itself to problems and challenges that are unnecessary, right? Yeah. Whereas if someone is waking up and go, my God, this day is so spectacular, you know, to look in your eyes is so spectacular, and I'm going to work on this thing. Like, at what point is it enough, you know? And I think that it's enough when we can, you know, really say, wow, this is amazing, this thing that's going on here. Like, this is amazing,
Yeah,
you know?
absolutely.
You wake up with someone that you care for, and you're like, you know, maybe him or her is asleep. And, you know, you just look, and you say, this is a mystery.
Yeah.
This is insane. Like, I love this person. I know this person. I've been with this person for however long, months, years, whatever. I still don't even know who this person is. This person is different than they were yesterday.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
I mean, and I am too. So I gotta get to do this all again for the first time. You know, so there are a lot of things, obviously, relationally, to keep something fresh and exciting and interesting. But it starts with a paradigm. It starts with an awareness to say, oh, this is special. This is really, really a big deal.
Yeah.
You know, because otherwise, what is it? It's fleeting. It's just like, whew, you know, I mean, like, what
you
if...
cover that in the 5 stages of...
Yeah.
No, I agree with you. I think that I think I'm trying to get answers for people. I would hope that eventually this grows to a podcast where people can ask these kind of questions. And I think my opinion and mine alone is that people are not monogamous by nature, but you can't. It's a discipline, much like a lot of things. Going to the gym every day, even though you feel like crap. Like, you know what I mean? It's just not. It's that simple. It's not complicated. I think once you establish that and you do the internal work, then you can attempt it. Then you can try it. But to immediately go, wow, we have such a amazing connection, or you, like you said, oh, I just woke up next to you and, oh my God, this is a miracle. It's euphoria. It's nice. That's great. Those kind of connections happen. It's fantastic. It's great. It makes life and the intensity of life a little more, like, you know, bearable. Oh my God, may you find it. I love that for you. Like, you know,
the clarity is important. Yeah, you're with someone and you say, "What, you know, this is what we're doing here."
Well, and mean it. How do you know if you mean it or if you're capable of it? If it's not your, do you know what I mean? They're just, I love you, and then the devastation, the cosplay devastation when it doesn't work out. You did nothing to work for this kind of monogamy.
Let's look at a pre-human example as a metaphor.
They were not monogamous.
Let's look at 2 pre-human metaphors. All right, let's start with plants. You take an acorn and you put it in the soil, and then you pull it out a month later, and you put it in another soil, and you pull it out, and and then eventually you put it somewhere after you potted it in like 20 different locations, right? Well, it's not very good at growing roots, and then maybe the tree grows into a little oak, and then it falls over because the roots aren't very deep. Right? Mm-hmm. You take an acorn and you put it deep in the soil, deep down in there, and you water it. You give nutrients and sun.
Right.
Powerful oak, right?
Great analogy.
Right? That's pre-human. And, you know, you look at, you know, gorillas in society, right? They're pretty outstanding. They're pretty amazing, you know. But, boy, you know, there's a lot of, like, you know, deception that goes on, in the mating process. That's, you know, pretty radical. And I think as a sentient being with the ability, you know, to make decisions about the life that we are carving, creating here and now. Yeah. If some girl is, you know, some person is attractive or some man is attractive, and like, I'm going to sleep with this person for what, you know? Like, for what, right?
Primitive.
So, yeah, but in pleasure, it's fine. Absolutely. Fantastic, right? But then, like, someone else on Friday, and someone else next Friday, and someone else next Friday, and someone else next Friday. Like, eventually, the roots don't take anymore. Eventually, what I'm saying is not good or bad, right? I'm saying that's fine, you know? But I'm saying that definitely we become accustomed to what we practice. Right?
Absolutely.
You know, if I practice sitting up straight, I'm going to sit up straight more often than I won't, right?
Exactly.
If I practice speaking a certain way, I'm going to speak a certain way. If I practice, you know, promiscuity, then what I'm doing is I'm practicing an exchange, you know, of sexual joy and rapture and whatever that is only so deep, right? And there's nothing wrong with that, again, right? But then after like a certain amount of years, at some point, I no longer know how to have a relationship. And so you have big cities that are full of abundance where you do have a lot of really lonely people aging in a certain way. They're saying, now I'm ready, I want to be in a relationship, but they don't know how because they never practiced one. They've never been in a relationship for more than 10 months or something like this. You know, and so I think, and what the tale that I'm telling sounds cautionary, it's not moral at all, you know. I've been in amazing long-term relationships, committed relationships, right, my whole life. And I just like that for me because I'm more productive in those relationships. I find more joy. I find less tumult.
Right.
You know, for me, working in consciousness and in writing and producing and directing movies, right, and in psychology, like there's enough. It's challenging enough. I don't need that in my relationship.
But you fall into the analysis I made. You are more on the conservative side. You don't like chaos. You don't like it. And I'll argue on one point only on the previous one where you said that if you practice promiscuity, then that's what you do. I happen to think, and I think it's facts also, that biologically, that's people, you're supposed to procreate. It's a natural calling. It's an instinct. It's a pull, right? That we talk about the pull. Yeah. So it's not that they're practicing. Yes, after a certain age, you're practicing and repeating something that sure is naturally in you. But I think you are fighting a bigger fight when you say, you know what, I'm going to contain what we've done for so long, and we're going to be monogamous now, and that you're setting yourself up to fail is what I'm saying when you don't work at something. But if you've discovered that, you know what, I function better with less chaos. I'm a little more on the conservative. I don't like casual sex. So do you know what I mean? These are people that are more, they like monogamy. They'll have a better chance of making it work. However, when you decide, just because you have a big wedding, big splash, throw money at it, doesn't mean any work got into that. If you are dishonest and promiscuous by nature, you will continue to be so after your big and loud declaration of love and monogamy, because you'll find that is a very hard pull. Procreate with this one, procreate with that one, which is what the alarm is. You might not actually go and have a baby with the person, but you're like, that one's hot. Go put a baby in that one, put a baby in that one, put a baby in that one. Well, how are you going to fight that? How? And then the woman's going to be like, wow, that's what she's hearing. At the back of her head, biologically, that's what we're hearing. We might not know that that's what we're hearing, but that's what, I want a baby with that one. I want a baby with that one. I want a baby with that one. That's what happens. The betrayal is so deep because what they're trying to contain in monogamy is so much bigger than just the surface level of like, oh my God, the betrayal. No.
If you look at the history of productivity, and we're building something, right? Let's say an airplane. It doesn't start with a jet. It's like you have these little planes, like little wings, and then you get this, and then it evolves, right? And it's the same thing like with architecture, right? And it's the same thing with, learning anything. And so it's like the same thing with relationship, right? 100%. That if we're just doing something and it's brief, then that's what we're learning how to build. And so over the course of a decade, that's a lot of like, if somebody's going to just, sleep with a lot of people for a period, like if they can't figure it out after a decade, then that's like they're really practicing not growing roots. And there's nothing wrong with that. Amazing, like wonderful. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? But like lonely and
very
transient
and dishonest.
And
what you prioritize is what will be nourished in a relationship, whether you say it out loud or not. So if you're prioritizing my happiness in our relationship, I'm only worried about my happiness in our relationship. Well, as soon as I'm unhappy, then I'm not going to really talk to you about it. I'm just going to go deal with it because we're not really a unit. It's always been me. Me. When we get married, still me. Do you know what I mean? And it's like, I think that is very, I think we have to wrap up, but I think I'm just, I'm sick of the cosplaying. I think it's causing more misery than it needs to. It's unnecessary. There's enough challenges in the world without people on top of that cosplaying. Anything but to do the work is how I see it. You'll do anything but do the work, huh? Like with the, just anything, literally. So when you said the swingers are, they're not successful, in my book, they have a bigger chance of succeeding because that's actually the natural state. It's more if the woman's doing it or the man's doing it because the partner wants to do it rather than it's being an authentic lifestyle, much like people cosplaying monogamy when it's not something they really want to do. None of this fits what I want to do. I'm not conservative. I don't want to, I love being outside. I love flirting. Why the fuck are you monogamous? Why are you over here? Why would you do this to yourself? This is awful. Why would you do that to your partner? At all. So it's like what you prioritize in something, in an engagement, in a friendship, in work, and whatever, fitness. When you go and you're like, I'm going to be healthy and strong. So if I'm miserable one morning and super tired, I've gone straight from the airport to the gym because I will not work out. Do you know what I mean? Because that's my priority. I fucking don't care. I'll go bitching and screaming. I'm still going because it's a priority for me. It'll make me stronger tomorrow, make me in a better mental state the next day. So when you you don't need all this. There's enough problems in the world that you don't see it coming from where you don't have to add to it with this nonsense.
Yeah, agreed.
You know?
When I came to California, I did notice, I was like, clocking everything and like looking at what's going on. Like this is a place of unbelievable abundance for someone who's focused.
Yeah.
And for someone who's not focused, like, pretty ruthless because life is so gentle here. So it requires an extra kind of discipline.
Yeah.
And I looked around and I saw a lot of people throwing their lives away weekly, like a lot of hours chasing sex. Yeah. Right? Or,
being
chasing
very
something
primitive.
else and like, not, just sort of like, like this. And so that was just a very easy thing to say, well, I want to do that. Like failure leaves clues just like success does.
Yeah.
And I'm looking at people who and it's not about money or anything like this. It's just saying like success being joyous and connected and deep. And like, I'm saying, okay, I like that. Like I want that. Like I like, there was a period where I had some different homes. Yeah, and I would hold these think tank salons at my place and do, and I got to know so many people, to meet so many extraordinary people in that. And I thought, well, that's for me. I like that,
I like that you did that. I think that's inviting what you were saying to be more. And you're reaching out to people who can see that as a calling to be more. Do you know what I mean? Instead of like going out there's nothing wrong with going out, but that's, again, it's all very basic. This is all very simple structure. You can repeat those simple structures, or you could, if you are in a mission to be more, surround yourself with people that are more and learn from those kind of people and identify mostly, I think, what are you about? Don't worry so much about what you think it's supposed to look like. If you want to be kinder and you want to have a better, more authentic life, don't worry so much about the script. Please save yourself years of unhappiness and don't take on happiness from somebody else. Do you know what I mean? In friendships, in anything, if you're not a match, you're not a match. If you're not a good fit, just ask the question and be bold and take the answer. Take it on the chin. No glass chins. That's the episode. No glass chins. I don't know what I'm calling the episode. There was so much covered. It's like, I think we started part of process. I'm going to stop us now so I don't keep you longer. But this was awesome. I feel like there was always so much more to say.
Yeah.
Let's see what happens with this.
That was really fun. Yeah, that was great. Especially going in knowing that there's a polarizing thing. We jumped into some stuff that should be more polarizing. It was good.
Yeah. Like, why not?
Super sweet.
That means it's hitting some spots. That's perfect. Hopefully it helps you break out of your lifeline. I'm just kidding.
Nice.
Thank you for making the time today. I really appreciate you.
Yeah, thank you too. It's such a pleasure to be here.
Yeah.
I love what you're doing.
Thank you. And I thought it was so cool, Tommy, that you happen to know Tommy too.
Yeah, he's
he had the nicest things to say about you.
He's such a sweetheart.
Yeah, he's so gentle, gentle giant. Right?
Archetypally, when we met, we're similar. We're both sort of rugged, masculine, but super gentle.
Yeah, just softies. I love that.
Yeah, we're like, he's a really incredible man.
He's been through a lot.